Hello and welcome to another beautiful day right here on Oweleke TV. We are reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, I have Antonia Nwokolo right here this morning. Good morning, Antonia.
Good morning, Ramsey. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm good.
All right. It's good to hear
How are you doing too?
I'm very well, thank you.
Do you know you're being outnumbered this morning? How do you feel about that? But you're in a safe hands, you know.
It's one of those things, but
Blessed art thou among men.
Okay. Ramsey has switched it up.
And also we have Michael Ikene right here. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How you doing today?
I'm good. You look sharp, you know.
Splendid.
I love your tie.
Yeah, the tie is, well, I won't say what I want to say anymore. But the red there is pointing to something.
Awesome. It's good to be here, sir.
It's good to have both of you on the program this morning once again. Quickly, viewers, let's take you to the headlines that we have for the day. The first paper for review this morning is the Vanguard newspaper, and above the header, the kicker say electricity. Federal government slashes band A tariff by 8% to 206.8 naira per kilowatt. All right, details on page 19. Claims of foreign military base in Nigeria. False. Federal government is the one saying that, and details on page 9. Technical fault in aircraft aboard Shetima's trip to US-Africa Summit. I actually saw this headline and I was wondering, the last time it was Dana Air that land crashed. Now it is a presidential jet, okay, that's having this issue, an aircraft. Oh, you know what it means for the vice president's aircraft to develop fault mid-air, all right? And they call it technical fault. So sometimes you'll be forced to ask some questions. If it is just an ordinary airplane, okay, that is transporting people, you'll say, well, maybe there was a mistake somewhere. But this is the jet, the aircraft being used by the vice president.
That ought to be regularly maintained. Everything is readily available, or probably. Well, it's technical. And it's an engine, so anything is possible. Details on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on. Atiku becoming fond of distorting facts to discredit Tinubu. President says they won't say that. Details on page 9. I'm not going to say much about this. Maybe later we may be forced to add our conversation to that. Petrol scarcity, that's the kicker. And this is the big story for today. Why pump prices high in our stations. Ipman is the one saying that. I have two riders to that story. Price gap between major marketers and independents widens. All right. The second rider says major marketers in B2B transactions. B2B means business to business. This one says Edo 2022. That's the kicker. PDP APC governorship aspirants resign from party. And this one says 1.2 trillion naira debt cuts Genco's capacity to 35%. Details on page 24. And Goba poll PDP will reclaim Ondo Makinde. Oweleke is the one said that. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Over to you, Antonia, for the rest of the papers. Thank you, Ramsey. Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. Businesses to pay 0.5% cybersecurity levy. And that's on news page 4. And we have a rider to that story which says deductions begin May 20th. I saw this story and they said that these deductions will be sent straight to the National Security Advisor, and a lot of Nigerians were raising questions to that document, that why. And someone just jokingly said, we'll increase tax and reduce purchasing power. Do you think it was a joke? Did you think Tinubu was joking when he increased tax? I mean to say, did you think he was joking? But to get the details of that, pick a copy of the Nation newspaper. Moving on, Fubara attacks House of Assembly, says he won't worship Wike. Fubara attacks House of Assembly, says he won't worship Wike. The details of that is on page 28. And the big story on the Nation newspaper, Umahi, that's the kicker, Lagos to Calabar Road contract followed due process. So Umahi is saying the Lagos to Calabar Road contract followed due process. And a rider to it says, Atiku got it all wrong on Tinubu's son. This is coming from the presidency. And moving on to the next story, FIRS canvasses homegrown tax system in Africa. That's on page 7. And on page 29, Shetima's US trip aborted. And that will be the size of the headlines from the Nation newspaper. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Antonio. Straight to the Guardian. The kicker, consumers seek lower tariff as NERC adopts monthly review at $1,227 rate. Details of that is on page 6 of the Guardian. And we have some liners also. USAID names Nigeria 9th highest contributor to plastic pollution. Details of that on page 5 of the Guardian. We also have NLC TUC mobilized to shut NERC discos offices nationwide. Details of that on page 2 of the Guardian. Moving on to the next news, concern over Tinubu whereabouts as Shetima cancels US trip. Details of that is seen on page 6 of the Guardian. We also have federal government cuts electricity sales to neighbors for local supply. Details of this news on page 3. This will be interesting if the sales of electricity is cut down. I love this particular news here. All right, still on the Guardian. Terrorists kill 7, abduct women, rescue animals in Katsina, Kaduna. Details of this news is on page 30 of the Guardian. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael. More coming from the Punch newspaper this morning, and above the header, France rules out sitting military base in Nigeria. Page 7. You know, there was a time that people said there is a foreign military base in Nigeria when there was an issue, of terrorism, especially as it has to do with the Sambisa forest. But now France is ruling out citing military base in Nigeria. Details you can actually get on page 7 of the Punch newspaper, still above the header. Federal government orders registration of 1.9 million POS operators. Page 22 is where you get that. Federal government orders registration of 1.9 million POS operators. Someone was asking a question some times back, and the person said, if you get to the banks, you see that the automatic teller machine, the ATM, is not actually dispensing. And in front there, you see a POS operator. Okay.
So how did the POS operator
get cash? While the bank doesn't have cash to load the ATM,
No, I think somehow they withdraw in bulk. Maybe, but that should not exhaust everything.
Everything.
And if it's exhausted, why wouldn't they replace it?
And they also have long legs. The same way you see fuel amongst...
you have this black marketers always having fuel. But then, motorists and filling stations don't have. So someone was like, come on, this is in a bid to sell Naira to Nigerians. All right, that is from the Punch newspaper. Details, if you're actually interested in that story, get the details on page 21. This one is, all the way from Rivers State. The kicker says, Rivers, Assembly overrides Fubara again. Governor vows not to worship any man. This is thick. Governor vows not to worship any man. Just understand that headline. All right, the big story from the Punch newspaper. The kicker says dollar speculation, while the big story says federal government to ban Naira from crypto trading platforms. To write us to that story, and I will be done. SEC set to unveil fresh rules banning Naira from crypto exchange. I take that again. SEC set to unveil fresh rules banning Naira from crypto exchanges. The second rider says that DG meets operators, directs trader to name and shame racketers. Name and shame. All right, details on page 21 of the Punch newspaper, and that's going to be the size of the headlines this morning. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and it's going to be time for the big story, where we'll come and talk about what one of the papers have said already about Atiku distorting and trying to talk down the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We'll return after this break.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleke.tv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
Well, so many things happening in this country, but then opposition is always opposition. Welcome back from the break. We said on return, it's going to be time for the big story, and it's still outnumbered right here with Ramsey, Antonia, and Michael. Let's talk about this a little bit. The federal government have come out to say, in an attempt to undermine the current administration, former Vice President and People's Democratic Party presidential candidate for the 2023 presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, is being charged by the presidency of fabricating and manipulating facts, all right, to undermine this administration. And the headline, why we took it, a lot of you were surprised. We're just looking at me with surprise when they said Atiku is fond of distorting facts to discredit Tinubu's government. Well, for the presidency to say this, it means they are feeling what he's saying. Because if you're not relevant, if what you're saying is not relevant, no one will give you attention. But then, let's look at it critically. This is a democratic setting, And as a matter of fact, in every democratic setting, there are oppositions. And one of the things that somehow serve as a check and balance for every administration is opposition coming out to point out errors. But then, sometimes, some of these things that are being pointed out make a lot of sense. If the presidency is coming out to say Atiku is fond of fabricating things that undermine this administration, then it means the opposition are doing something to this very administration. But then there is also supposed to be at least a check, all right? There is something we call constructive criticism, all right? When a criticism is constructive, what I expect the people or whoever that is concerned to do is go back to the drawing board and see what they are doing rightly or what they are not doing rightly. But as it is right now, this administration is coming out to point accusing finger to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Someone told me before we came up on air and said, what of Peter Obi? Peter Obi is also talking. And I said, everything Peter Obi has been saying is constructive enough and it is for the interest of the people. Probably that's the reason the presidency have not said anything about it. Let's look at it now. Let me begin with Antonia this morning. What do you think of this? Is the presidency, right to say what Atiku is doing is just to distort facts? When they say distort, it means there is a fact, but he is trying to distort it so that people can look it in a different light. So what do you think? Is the presidency correct?
Okay, so the presidency in times past, when different sects, different groups, even Atiku you mentioned and Peter Obi have come up to say things about the government, they have always found way to draw sentiments out of different comments and different criticisms that may have come up during the course of this administration. And this is also one of them, one of the ways that they come out to say, oh, you are crying because you did not get the presidential seat or because you did not. But the opposition is meant to be a watchdog to the running party. It's meant to be a watchdog to checkmate their excesses. Just as we have the different arms of government doing that, checkmating each one another, the opposition party is there to keep the ruling party on their toes, to make sure that all of their strategies to always call out whatever bad behavior. But that should be done in a constructive manner. Because if it is not done in constructive manner, you hear things like this, where you're being accused of distortion and where you are also accused of applying sentiments in comments and all of that. So I think the government should actually critically sit. People will not just, if you are doing well, nobody likes bad things. Does anyone, except some people that actually rejoice when bad things happen. But if you're actually doing well, no one will come out to say you are not doing well. Even if everybody wants to castigate you or say your administration is bad, it will come from, everyone will see that it is coming from a place of hate and not from a place of wanting the country to be better. Take Peter Obi, for instance. All of the comments he has made on Twitter in different conferences about Nigeria, he's speaking with facts, talking about other countries, how they may not even, their population in terms of resources they have may not be up to Nigeria, but they are making the most of it. So would you call that someone is literally showing you a mirror and telling you this is how your country is? would you call that out of sentiment? Everyone wants Nigeria to be better, except there are some persons that do not want the country to move forward.
All right, let me get to you. Thank you, Antonia. Let me get to Michael right now. Michael, according to what Bayo said, the special advisor to the president, as a matter of fact, he is a special advisor to the president on information and strategy. Bayo Onanuga. Well, he said most of the things that Atiku is saying will mislead the public. Then I want to ask you now, don't you think the public, okay, are already saying so much about this administration, beginning from when the policy of subsidy removal came to play? Is it what Atiku is saying that will misinform, or mislead the public, or the public in a way have an opinion about this administration already?
Thank you very much, Sam. I think what the media aide to Tinubu is trying to elucidate is that he actually made some claims and made facts. He talked about 20 billion coming into the first year of investment, contrary to Tinubu's claims. The first year of, contrary to Atiku's claims, during the first year of Tinubu's regime, he talked about $20 billion being invested into the economy. He also cited an instances of last year, August's G20 summit in New Delhi, where he mentioned that $14 billion actually was introduced by business leaders, and Tinubu claimed that substantial amount of that $14 billion has been injected into the economy, trying to discredit what Atiku is saying. I think the public opinion is very, very testament and very paramount to what happens in the country when there's dividends of democracy and these things that are being claimed are very visible and conspicuous. The citizenry knows about these things. Are they reflecting in the economy positively? These claims, are they reflecting in the economy positively? Are they affecting the average man positively? The hunger, the unemployment. Okay, talk about the POS thing right now. Every graduate knows that once you leave the university, you're not expecting a luxurious, flamboyant job to come your way. You have to navigate your way in the hard economy and find something to do. You find out that the street is overflowed, overcrowded with POS sellers, and most of them are graduates. Dump your CV and do something realistic. So I think there's some atom of truth, but then in that,
but do you see Atiku talking too much?
I think he's a whistleblower, because if you can go back to 1999 to 2007 when Atiku was vice president, and you see some deals that were done, some deals that he did under his company Intels, some deals that he actually gave out. If you start investigating,
so now you're now picking on Atiku. He is trying to say Atiku himself. He's trying to say Atiku himself is not an angel as it has to do with governance. Well, this is going to be the size of the review for this morning. It's actually hot right here.
Yeah.
Get on the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel Oweleke TV, and also turn on the notification button so that you will be the first to be notified when vital information hit on the channel. My name is Ramsey Enoch. I will come on your way again. Same time, same station tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.